Texans injury report, kind of alarming despite the good news earlier in the week. Plus, the Broncos, they talk about the Texans defense. Did they really have anything nice to say? Let's go inside the locker room.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey. Locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top two and we not two. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days. Opinions.
What is going on with this ball game? I got to tell you, this game is one of the more intriguing games. I thought it was going to be one of the more intriguing games before the season started, and as the season has gone, and the way that things have shaped up, I'm more intrigued by this game than I even anticipated I would be. It is the locker room, number one source for Texans digital content. I am Landry Locker. You can hear me, see me here, as well as on SNL. Shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring the video. I just missed out on a higher lower. I just missed out on a higher lower. And if you want to play higher lower, very simple. This guy's going to get this many yards. You go higher lower, as many guys as you want. You got to have multiple teams. If you're intrigued by it, but you don't want to spend any money, good news. Sleeper's offering an elite deal, $20 entry, no deposit needed. You can get a 100% match up to $100. All you got to do is use the promo code Locker. And even if you don't, the best scoring app, the best sports app in the game is the Sleeper app. I can 100% promise you that. By the way, I had Mark Andrews having over 3.5 catches. He just had a couple touchdowns. So I guess I should have just said he would score a touchdown and it would have been even better. But shout out to Sleeper for all the great things that they do. The Texans injury report is out, and it's a little bit alarming. We've been focusing a lot on the good news, and we'll start with the good news. The good news is Captain Kirk has arrived for now.
Captain Kirk has arrived. I repeat, Captain Kirk has arrived.
And even more importantly, Nico Collins is back. Let's hear what Nico Collins had to say during his media availability. We caught up with him for a little bit. Man, a few words typically. But here's what Nico had to say leading up to the game.
How are you feeling now?
Man, I feel great. Blessed to be off the protocol. Feeling good, man. Excited about this week. Great matchup. Denver coming in. Great team, man. So excited to be back, though.
Did you have some pretty bad symptoms? What were some things you experienced with this concussion?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, bro.
I hit my head
How
hard.
fair
You know,
is
just regular head, hitting the ground hard, just seeing just little flashes, whatever, just what it is, But I'm all good now, that's all that matters, and ready to play this week.
A lot of people have been talking about how now that you're back and Christian Kirk is back, with the really guys stepping up while you were out, that this offense can become a little more all around. How do you see that?
Yeah, it's same. Great, man. Everybody's stepping up, which is a great thing. That's what you want as a team. When your number's called, you want to go out and operate. And go step up and make plays, man. I'm glad to see my boys out there make plays, the entire team, on both sides of the ball. One guy missed, but you got to continue to go, So I'm glad I'm seeing everybody, feel good, getting their groove, get ready for the matchup in Denver.
We know what you can do. Do you get fired up watching the young guys kind of emerge a little bit?
Man, for sure. I feel like there's no better feeling than seeing your teammates, your brothers go out there, do what they love, make plays, celebrate, laugh, and that's the point of it. You know what I'm saying? It's the same game you play your entire life, man. But seeing the boys go out there expand, man, it's a great feeling, for sure.
Nico, it doesn't look like they're going to have your two fans this week. Does that disappoint you at all, not being able to have that match?
Nah, I mean, it is what it is. I wish nobody missed a game. I just wish speed recovery with him, man, with his pec, whatever he got going on, issues, But, nah, definitely, it was going to be a great matchup, always good on good, and that's what you want, and that's the point of this league. You're going to go against guys like that, all four corners, So, man, it sucks that he's not out there, man, but speed recovery on his way.
Oh, there you go. So he misses Surtain, and the Texans get Nico Collins. I have a couple thoughts on this, on the Nico Collins thing. And we know how good Nico Collins is. We know how capable Nico Collins is of making plays. But here's the question I have. And I don't know how to explain this, but it is a thing. Despite the fact that Nico Collins, many consider to be one of the better receivers in the league, despite the fact he's coming back, despite the fact that Patrick Surtain is not playing, it doesn't really feel like people are like expecting Nico Collins to go off. Right now on Sleeper, I'm looking at it, 64.5 yards, which is typically aligned with what they have in Vegas. 64.5 yards is the total for Nico Collins without Surtain on the field. So a cornerback who shifts the line 3 points, and there's not a lot that do that. He's missing, and there's really not much of an expectation or dialogue about Nico Collins going off. What do we make of that? Has the lack of production before this injury, has that kind of lowered the expectations of Nico Collins? Are there trust issues with the offense? Because it's not just a mental thing at this point. The money is saying that they don't expect Nico Collins to really go off without Surtain. So the whole game is supposed to change, but Nico Collins really isn't supposed to do much, which I think is just it's an interesting development for me. Like as I sit here and I try to think about the game and as the thoughts start circulating through the week, I'm looking at this and I'm just like, wow, that's kind of wild. And if you look at Nico Collins' stats this season, like even the game logs, there's been a 25-yard game against the Rams. There's been a 52-yard game against Tampa Bay. He had 104 against the Jags, but he fumbled away that game. He's had a 79-yard game against the Titans. And then 52 and 27 against the Seahawks, and he got hurt a little bit late against Seattle. So in 6 games, Nico Collins has 339 yards. He's averaging 13 yards per catch. What's going on here? And we kind of saw this last year with Tank Dell, where we remember Tank Dell last year for the injury, and we look at it as, well, that was unfortunate, and that's how it went down. But before then, there really wasn't a lot of production. And I've heard DJ Bieniemy ask Nick Caley about it, and it's kind of like, well, we get Nico Collins involved. Okay, well, whatever's going on is not enough. And then you look at the targets in the 6 games that he's played, really 6 games that he's played, he's had 6 targets or less in 3 of those games. It's unacceptable. He's had double-digit targets twice, Seattle and Jacksonville. He had a big drop against Seattle too. Like he's had a big drop, the one against Seattle. He's had a fumble against the Jags, and he's had 6 targets or less in 3 games. So it's just kind of a damn shame. And it's kind of, we've heard D'Amico Ryans say they want to get Nico Collins more involved. But if you look at what the production has been and what he's doing, like it's been a really disappointing season for Nico Collins. He's one of the most disappointing players in the NFL this year, early on. Maybe it's not all his fault. And I would say it's not all his fault, but that's just a reality of the situation. One of the best corners in the game, he's out. And nobody, from the experts to me to really anyone that I've talked to, really expects Nico Collins to go off. And maybe it goes down to the question of the week. Do you trust Nick Caley in this situation? Let's hear Nick Caley. I asked him about kind of getting all these guys to gel at the same time. Here's what the offensive coordinator of the Texans had to say.
Nick. Kirk and Nico coming back, obviously that's good. But
Sure.
The guys got it going on Sunday, so it not kind of being able to blend all that in and not have the it come at the sake of like Noel or Higgins, who seem to be fun in their
Yeah, I mean, look, we're happy that they're back. We're excited that they're back. The other guys, everybody stepped up and did a great job too. We have a lot of faith. We have a deep wide receiver room that are continually getting better, and so we have faith in all those guys. But yeah, we're glad to have Nico and CK back out there, and the other guys keep going at the same, continuing to improve. And I think the more we're out there, the more we have an opportunity to really build cohesiveness together as a group. And again, we got a pretty deep receiver room, so we're lucky for that, and definitely thankful we get these two guys back too to join us.
All right. I don't know what it looks like with the rotation with the receivers, and it's good to have as many receivers as possible, but if you have an offensive coordinator that basically has to be forced to get guys involved, you do kind of wonder, okay, is he going to be able to really get this going? He hasn't been able to get Nico Collins going, and that's really something that we haven't seen in the entire CJ Stroud era. This is the first time where you look at Nico Collins when he's been playing with CJ Stroud and you say, damn, like, is this guy going to ball? Are they going to give him opportunities to make plays? This is the first time this has happened. This is a new development. And of all the stuff that we've talked about, we really don't talk about this much because you don't really worry about it, but it doesn't feel like we're seeing the Nico Collins that we've been used to seeing. It doesn't feel like, because it's not happening. So maybe that changes. Maybe they just continue to spread the ball around, which is fine. But I think it would probably be in the best interest of the Texans to get Nico Collins looking like what he's looked like the entire time CJ Stroud's been playing football with him, which is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. That's something we need to keep an eye on. We focus a lot on the offensive line. We focus a lot on, CJ Stroud. We focus a lot on the running back rotation, which, by the way, yikes. Potential yikes. But Nico Collins looking very pedestrian and average. That's discouraging. I mean, it's great you're getting Nico Collins back. What the hell have you done with him, Nick Caley? And what has he really done? I mean, he's had some blunders that we're not used to. The fumble against Jacksonville that cost you a game. The drop against Seattle, probably the best play CJ Stroud made. So yeah, you're getting Nico Collins back, but it doesn't really feel like you're getting Nico Collins back. Doesn't feel like you've had Nico Collins all year. So it's something that really hasn't gotten a lot of attention. But as I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about this, I'm like, damn, that's an interesting development that we should probably pay a little bit of attention to. Let's hear more from Nick Caley. We've talked about Blake Fisher. Blake Fisher. What if Blake Fisher is the savior? This heavy set. Nick Caley was asked about Blake Fisher being a part of this offensive line. We'll hear that in a sec. Let's just hear him about the offensive line in general. Cole Popovich and the offensive line. And I got to ask a question about my co-host. And I need y'all to weigh in on this. And by the way, speaking of that, tomorrow, SNL, 3:00, Halloween Day, happy hour at Spanky's. I was just looking at the menu, just trying to figure out what I'm going to order. I don't know. I might go pizza, wings, and I don't know. I might go pasta. I don't know. I'm all over the place. And then I'm probably going to steal my daughter's Halloween candy afterwards. And we'll be out there from 3 till probably about 5:36 is for me. Stoots is probably going to stay a little later. But I gotta take the daughter trick-or-treating. But we want you to be out there. We got gift cards and a lot of other stuff. So be out there. Spanky, Sharpstown tomorrow at 3:00. Let's hear Nick Caley talking about this offensive line and what Cole Popovich has done.
Playing with good technique and fundamentals and starting the game the right way and starting each drive the right way and being coordinated with each other. And again, it all starts with communication. We set the table and we're all seeing it through the same set of eyes from a protection standpoint, from a run game standpoint. When we're on and we're working together, in unison, you can see some really positive things happen and they're continuing to improve. So I've been happy with that. And that's just the way we got to play. When you get tired, especially, that's where your technique will shine. You put a lot of reps into that. And so just being consistent, being consistently good down after down and being at our best. That's what we need. And, I think you saw that this past weekend. We just got to keep getting that, from week to week.
Yeah, we saw it this past weekend, but I mean, it was against San Francisco. And San Francisco's not pressuring the quarterback. Denver's the best team in the league when it comes to pressuring the quarterback. I'm leaning. I'll just do the spoiler. I'll be honest. I'm leaning Denver. Like, I was trying to figure out and make sense of it. I feel like I'm overthinking it. I think Denver wins this game. I can't pick the Texans to win this game. If I'm wrong, no one will be happier than me. Post game will be right after. I mean, I thought they would beat Seattle. I thought they would beat the Rams. So maybe me picking against them is right. I can't pick the Texans to win this game. I really can't. Like, you can't convince me that a team that we've seen beat, the only time that we've seen this offense look good has been against 3 dog-butted football teams, and that's what Baltimore was. The Baltimore we saw tonight is a little bit different than the one the Texans faced, if you didn't notice. San Francisco completely beat to crap. I cannot pick the Texans to beat the Broncos. I just can't. I'm rooting for it. I hope it happens. I'm not gonna. I don't care about being right on predictions. I think that's kind of a goofy thing to do in this business, where you're just like hanging your hat. It's cool to be right every once in a while, but it's not like something. I can't pick them to beat Denver. I just can't. And something that we saw today, I think, is something to keep an eye on when it comes to the Texans. Before we get to that, let's go to the soup real quick.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Doyle says this is a bleep or get off the pot game. I agree. You're a favorite for some reason. You're going against a team that is in the same tier as you are. It would be your first win against a good team. San Francisco is an okay team, but this would be your first win against a good team. San Francisco has a pulse, but this would be good team. This is kind of a measuring stick game for the Texans. I don't care if Surtain's out or not. That's normal. That's normal injury stuff. This isn't like astronomical banged up like Baltimore and San Francisco was. This is a good team, and this is a team that, quite frankly, they possess a strength that has potential to expose your biggest weakness. They pressure the quarterback. We've said this 100 times. Drink. Most sacks in the league by 10. 36 sacks. They have like 20 more sacks than the Texans in one more game. And really, this is going to be a team you're competing with. It feels like there's kind of a sense that the Chiefs are just going to hurdle the Broncos. The Broncos know that the Chiefs are coming. They know they got to win games like this too. And they can push the Texans back. So we knew before the season that these were two teams that were in that second tier, whatever tier you want to call it, trying to get up to the top. This is where they are. I listened to Sean Payton's press conference today. By the way, what a hardo Sean Payton is. Some guy asked about the defense. He went like real in depth, and then another guy just goes, "Oh, what do you think about their defense?" And Sean Payton's like, "I just answered that question." The guy's like, "Well, what do you think they compare to yours?" He's like, I just went through everything that they do." But Sean Payton was talking about J.K. Dobbins, and J.K. Dobbins is averaging like over 5 yards a carry. He's top of the league in rushing. He was a guy that was out there on the market same time as Joe Mixon was. Or not Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb. And the Texans brought in Nick Chubb. The Broncos brought in J.K. Dobbins. And I would say the Broncos probably did a better job for themselves. And they have a rookie running back that's complimenting him as well. They worked the market a lot better than the Texans did. And they are reaping the benefits of it. And it's good to see J.K. recover. J.K. is third in the league in rushing right now with 634 yards. He is averaging 5.3 yards per carry, and he has 4 touchdowns. He's averaging 79 yards a game. That's J.K. Dobbins. You got to go way down to see Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb's averaging 4 yards a carry and 46 a game. So they did a really good job of, A, knowing that J.K. Dobbins, coming off his injury, was going to be good to go, and B, making the decision they did. But when Sean Payton was talking about him, he said, you gotta, this is crazy, but he's like, you really gotta assess guys and diagnose guys to see if they're ready to be champions. I'm sitting there saying, what? Their coach is sitting there talking about, a high bar. He's using the word champions when it comes to assessing his guys. There's a certain level of intensity that comes with Sean Payton. And I want to know part of Sean Payton, but when he gets things going and when he pays as much attention to the details as he does, it's as intense as football can possibly be. And quite frankly, when you watch him coach and you see the stuff that he does in game, like stuff as simple as just the way that he manipulates the clock at the end, the rules, he knows everything, like all that type of stuff. It's something that's very hard not to respect. But he's talking champions, and this is a measuring stick game for the Texans to kind of hang around. Now, the other thing that I thought was interesting is typically whenever you face a West Coast team or a team that's on that time zone, mountain time zone, all that, when you face them at noon at your place, it's almost like they're having to play early. And it can be a little bit of a shell shocker for them, but the clocks get set back, so it's a perfect noon time. It's not an 11er for them. It's actually the normal time that they're used to, which Sean Payton kind of brought up. He's a weirdo with details, but they're asking about the early start. He said, "Yeah, it's not an early start. It's they moved back the clock, so it's actually noon our time. So we actually dodged a bullet there." So that's the other factor. A lot of times, whenever a team in the Mountain or West Coast time zone is coming to the Central time zone, and you know how I feel about time zones. I hate time zones, but they're basically playing at 11 a.m., which some people think is weird in football. But in this case, they're playing at the exact same time, the normal time. So I don't know what the hell that means, but that was another thing that Sean Payton talked about, which I thought was interesting. Now, here is the bad news on that injury report. We've talked about Nico Collins. We've talked about Christian Kirk. Woody Marks is on the injury report, and it's a soft tissue thing. And he wasn't there before, so you wonder, did this happen? Did this happen in practice yesterday or what? And we all know how soft tissues can be. I don't think Woody Marks is an every down back. I don't think Woody Marks is really an every down back. I think he's a complimentary back. I think he's the best back on this team. But I think in a perfect world, he's a really good complimentary back who should be catching the ball often. But on this team, he's probably the second most important skill guy. I think Nico's the most important, despite the lack of production this year. I think Woody Marks is number 2 because he's your best running back and he can do everything. He adds an element that you don't possess anywhere else, and the depth at the position is bad. And then I think Dalton Schultz is the third most important, which we talked about yesterday, and Dalton Schultz is still banged up. Dalton Schultz was out there today, but he wasn't practicing. And D'Amico said he expects him to go, but y'all have eyes, I have eyes. The last 3 games that Dalton Schultz has played, and he's been good, it's very clear that he's in a lot of effing pain. A lot of times, whenever you see these clues and stuff, like the guy's going on the field, off the field, on the field, off the field. This is going to be a very physical game for a tight end like Dalton Schultz. I know that they're using Fisher as an extra blocker, but Dalton Schultz is going to have to block. He's going to get hit. There's going to be, when you have a shoulder and knee injury, there's a pretty good chance that when you go out there and play football, you're going to get banged up. So in my opinion, the second and third most important skill guys are being banged up. That's a big problem for an offense that really just hasn't really had it against good teams. So it's great that Nick Caley has some wide receivers to work with And sometimes these injuries you just kind of dismiss, but Woody Marks with a soft tissue and then Dalton Schultz banged up all over the place. That's not good. That's a recipe for disaster with this offense. Now, Nick Caley insists that they got depth at the tight end positions. I find that a little bit amusing, but let's hear Nick Caley. And this makes me question everything else he's said when he says this. But here's Nick Caley talking about the depth at tight end behind Dalton Schultz.
We got a good room of really smart, hardworking guys. They're all versatile. They're cross-trained. You know, some people say fullback. Some people say, F. Y. It's F and Y. I mean, those guys are interchangeable. They're all cross-trained. We do that from the time we get here to spring because things like this happen, and you lose guys. It's the National Football League. So got a lot of faith in them. They're tough. They're smart. They're hardworking. They're always prepared. They're ready to back each other up, and I got a lot of faith in those guys, and Jake Moreland does a good job with those guys.
Okay, I mean, I don't know. That was one of the things that all this moving around, this wheeling and dealing that the Texans did. There are a lot of opportunities at tight ends. I think me and Cody covered that top to bottom, and they didn't bother even really dipping into the tight end area in the draft. There was Fedoni, there was Hawes, who ended up on his feet. I mean, there were a lot of options at tight end, and they brought back Brevin Jordan coming off a season-ending injury. He has another season-ending injury. And then they brought back Cade Stover, who was banged up last year, who you really didn't know much about. So they've basically just got guys. That's why when I do my grades with Houston football and I grade the tight ends, it's DAG, D-A-G, Dalton and guys. So it's going to be a real problem if Dalton Schultz can't go. And we're just warning, like we have eyes, we watch. You haven't practiced all week. You look beat to shit every time that you're on the field at this point. Even though he's balling, like I'm not questioning it. I think he's leaving it all out there. I don't think anyone questions that. But just keep an eye on it. And then you start talking soft tissue injuries with running backs who are pretty explosive. Not ideal, to say the very least. So that's why I'm leaning Denver. I was going to lean Denver anyways, but I'm leaning Denver here. And this injury report today, it added to it in what we saw at practice.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
ESG Soccer says we haven't shown we compete against competence. That's a fact. It's a fact. And this is an opportunity for them to do that. And not too long ago, they had an opportunity to get up to 500 against a good team, and they wet the bed. It's 2 Mondays ago. They wet the bed. I asked Nick Caley about that. Are y'all better equipped now to be able to handle that? And here's what Nick Caley said.
You had an opportunity to carry over momentum and get up to 500 against a good team. Y'all had that opportunity against Seattle. Mm-hmm. What did you take away from that, and do you feel more confident that y'all will be better equipped to reach that goal this time?
Yeah, I think, obviously we didn't play a good football game, obviously not to relive that game, but we didn't play a very good football game that game. From an execution standpoint, too many mistakes, too many self-inflicted wounds, and that's not how you can't play against, every team's good in this league. You can't play that way against teams in this league. So coming back from that week, we got to start the game the right way. We got to not hurt ourselves. We got to go out and play and execute the game plan the way we want to execute it, and across the board, all of us. And I think that's the thing that, you put a good week in. We've had really good weeks of practice. I think I alluded to that then, but just continuing to build that, starting on Wednesdays and, Thursday, so on and so forth. And I think that's the thing, is starting the right way, playing with good technique, being consistent, and being able to obviously finish drives, and drive the ball and finish. That's the key.
We're in here talking about practice.
That's one of my pet peeves now with coaches. And you guys know me by now. And if you don't, I'm Landry Locker. I cover the Texans. I appreciate you for rolling through. But I have a new pet peeve that I want to sound off on a sec. But first, let's talk about something great. Texans turf. Texans turf is awesome. If you have a home, if you own a home, you've probably seen turf. You've thought about it. Look, if you got a great lawn, you take care of your grass, and everything's perfect, good for you. But I like turf. I like turf because it's always green. It's always clean. There's no insects. There's no mud. It looks great. You can even put a putting green back there, playing surface. I think it just makes your home look a lot better. And that's what I wanted to do. So I shopped around for it. A lot of these guys are terrible. They rip you off. You see probably hundreds of advertisements for turf on Instagram. You see it, it looks good. But then when you actually talk to the guys, you realize what their prices are, these minimums, the fact they don't work with you. You get discouraged very quickly. But Texans turf came out. Dan the man, he took care of business. And I got a lot of appreciation for what he did for me. And I think you should let him do the same for you. Go to texansturf.com. Trust me, you will not regret it. So I always hear coaches say that we had a good week of practice. And I find it weird. And the D'Amico quote I thought was interesting, where he kind of said that basically, and this was amidst all the other stuff. Let's just revisit this with D'Amico Ryans. What he said last week that I thought was an interesting quote. And this was between Seattle and San Francisco.
I'm figuring out why things are happening. It's always baffling as a coach when you go through and you practice a certain thing and you work it a certain way, and guys get in the game and do something completely different. Well, that's being disjointed. Like, we got to be on the same page, and not on the same page like we don't know what we're doing. We just got to do what we called. We got to run what we call, right? The techniques we work, the things we established throughout training camp, we got to do that, right? And when we do that, you'll see we operate efficiently. We are able to be in the right spot defensively, special teams wise. We're able to get our blocks done the right way when we just execute what we practice all week, right? You can't get in a game. So I told our guys today, you can't get in a game and overcomplicate football. I know football can be a complex game within a game, but to me, football is simple. And you make it simple, you keep it simple, and allow guys to go play fast. All right, and that's what we've done, but we don't need to make things up. We don't need to try to do something or press and make a play. Just be like, we just have to stay with what we've been coached to do it the right way every single time. When I say it's one snap at a time, that's what I truly mean. It's not, oh, I need to make this big play. You need to focus in one snap at a time, do exactly what you're coached to do. When we do that, we play well. When we get outside of that and we try to do more, that's when we don't play well. So it's not complicated to play this game. We don't need to make it that way. Let's play fast and let's play fun.
So that's really confusing to me. So I don't understand it. And I mean, maybe I'm being a simp. I just don't get it, how coaches who lose a lot, and D'Amico's not in that category, but I mean, they've had some pathetic performances, and this is after the Seattle game, but they come out and they say how great practice was, how, you know, we had an excellent week of practice and it was awesome and all this, and I'm just like, how do you know that? Like, if you went out there and laid an egg, and Nick Caley goes out there, and I'm sure he said they had a great week of practice before the Rams. I'm sure they had an awesome week of practice before the Seahawks. I'm sure they had an awesome week of practice before Tampa Bay. I'm sure they had an amazing week of practice before Jacksonville. How do you say that you had a really, really good week of practice? I asked Frank Ross this, and quite frankly, it was an in-depth answer. I still was kind of confused as to how you can say that if you end up wetting the bed in the game. It's one of those things. I don't know how much I'm going to hang on to this. I find things that I hang on to, and I'm like, God, that's so annoying. It doesn't make sense. But I don't understand the whole we practice awesome against Seattle. Maybe you didn't. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe you didn't have an awesome week of practice. But I've never heard a coach say that we had a bad week of practice. Have you heard that? I haven't heard it very often. And it's in a crazy way, it's almost like kind of eliminating accountability. Now, they'll always say at the end, well, we got to do better. I got to do better. We got to execute. Okay. Does part of executing and doing better have to do with maybe the way you practice? This practice just seems like the sacred thing. Practice is like has immunity. Practice has immunity. It's crazy. I'm confused by it. I really don't get it. But it always happens. Shout out to Rudy on the chat. Much love, my friend. Hopefully see you at Spanky's tomorrow. It's always funny with these coaches. This is 100% my new thing. 100% my new thing. But it's never because they had a bad practice at all. So the Texans offense versus the Denver offense. The Denver offense is humming right now. Now they've done it against the Giants and they've done it against the Cowboys. So there's reason to kind of question the effectiveness of Denver's offense, but they also have a running back who's playing at a Pro Bowl level. They have a quarterback who's been kind of up and down. And the one thing that Denver has that the Texans don't, it's going back to it again. They have excellent pass protection. Denver does. And that's something that they really do very well. And the one thing that they said, because I listened to all the press conferences today just to kind of get an ear on what they're saying in Denver. The one thing that they said, and I don't think they were saying it disrespectfully, but a lot of times we see CJ Stroud kind of confused at the line of scrimmage and the Texans offensive line confused, and the pressure, whether it's just the guy in front beating the guy in front of him or guys blitzing and it appearing that the Texans don't know where they're coming from. There seems to be a lot of confusion. That's not something that happens to Denver. And Bo Nix and Sean Payton kind of both said the same thing. They basically said that the Texans have a basic defense. They basically said that the Texans don't do anything creative, that they do things well, and it's basically just to beat the man in front of you. It kind of goes back to the Seattle thing where we said the Texans don't stomp much. But I don't think there's any chance. Like if Bo Nix plays bad, it's going to be because Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson just beat the guy's ass in front of him. But that's difficult because, again, Denver's really good in pass pro. They're really good in pass pro. And the Texans, they don't really trick you. And this was the quote from Bo Nix, because Sean Payton basically said this, and then Bo Nix gave the quote that he doesn't expect to be too confused by the Texans defense. This is the quote, they don't do a lot, but they do it well. They don't do a lot, but they do it well. So this is where we go back to what we talked about yesterday, where Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, it's probably be nice for both of them to eat, especially in a situation where this team's a really good pass protecting team. 5-2 when they both get a sack. 2 losses, kind of some flukish stuff happened at the end. They don't do a lot, but they do it well. That's the quote from Bo Nix talking about the Texans. That's a compliment too. Can the basic defense win? Is the Texans defense basic? That's what Bo Nix and Sean Payton said. These are 2 guys, say what you want about them. They're known as pretty smart at their position. That's one of Bo Nix's things. I don't know if you've heard it, but he's a coach's son. You probably hear that about 16 times if you're not at the game and you're watching probably hear that he's a coach's son at least 16 times on the broadcast. But they basically said the Texans defense is basic, doesn't do much, not going to confuse them. That's what they said. Fantasy-wise, nobody's expecting too much from Bo Nix or CJ Stroud. The ESPN rankings, they have Nix 19th and Stroud 21st. So they're not expecting Bo Nix to set the world on fire. They're not expecting Stroud to set the world on fire, but they're expecting Nix to be slightly more effective statistically. This is going to be a big test for the Texans. A team that they're in the trenches. Like if we just look in the trenches of what we just talked about, They pass protect very well, and they don't get confused. And they pressure the quarterback better than any team in the league. That doesn't seem like a team that should be a 1.5 point underdog. It doesn't feel like that. Leaning Denver. I'm leaning Denver. Now I have a question about Cody Stoots. And I actually might defend him on this.
Pop, lock, and drop it. Pop, lock, and drop it.
So Cody Stoots, Houston football, SNL, live tomorrow at Spanky's in Sharpstown. Hope to see you there. Stoots was going to talk to Cole Popovich this week. Now, this was after the Seattle game was when Stoots initially said he wanted to talk to Popovich. And then the San Francisco game happened, and it was like, I think Cody decided, would it make sense for me to talk to him after the San Francisco game, or should I wait till after the Denver game to see what happens? I think that's fair. I'm sure that D'Amico would probably say, "Oh, you don't want to talk to us after we win." Well, we want to see if this is real. We've seen you beat teams that are depleted, but I think it's fair. Do y'all think Stoots is duck and pop? I'm kind of messing with him a little bit here, but I think it's appropriate to see, because after Seattle, now he gets a second chance. We get to see what happens with Popovich. That's going to be I don't think Stoots is ducking him. I think that makes sense. Now, these are the questions that I want to circle back to here in the locker room. These are the questions that I want to circle back to. So we have Marks and Schultz banged up. Those are the big developments of the day. We've talked about their importance. Oscar says that Stoots is raw dogging. Yeah, I don't know. Y'all need to ask Stoots if he's duck and pop tomorrow. But I know y'all are going to be mad at me for even asking this question. And I think a lot of you, hopefully you have a trash can by you or something like that, to where when I ask this question, you don't throw up. Because I'm not going to lie. This is 100% a throw up question for anyone that follows the Texans. What does the running back rotation look like without Marks? Now, we haven't gotten word that he's not going to play. We know that he's banged up. He was limited. It's a soft tissue injury, though, and you never know how that's going to go. You're one cut away at a running back with especially the way he runs. But let's say hypothetically, I'll knock on wood, but if Woody Marks is limited, like, what does the running back rotation look like? Yuck. Like, do we see Dameon Pierce get a nice little split with Nick Chubb? Do we have a Nick Chubb, Dameon Pierce duo out there? Does Dare Gumbawale become like the Woody Marks? I mean, he's been out there on third down. They've increased his reps since the bye. Do we see Dare Gumbawale out there doing his thing? Do they just become a passing team? Do they still try to force the run? I mean, that is a scary thought when you really think about it. We've talked about running back depth. Running back depth, even with Mixon and Marks, has been kind of a question mark. Like, this is why you don't want lingerers on your roster. Like, it's cool if you stay healthy, but you got to churn the roster when it comes to running backs and upside. Like, that's how you end up with a J.K. Dobbins if you're Denver. That's how you add an R.J. Harvey, E.J. Harvey, whatever the hell his name is, Harvey. I actually like him a lot. But what does the rotation look like? It's actually kind of disgusting to think about. Well, that is bad. People are saying British Brooks, he's playing fullback. They haven't really used him in the rotation. I'd probably rather see him than Pierce and see what it looks like. but it's a gross thought to think about. It might not be as gross as the tight end rotation. You're talking about Harrison Bryant, maybe Jakob Johnson. Jakob Johnson's been working out with the tight ends. But your tight end rotation without Schultz is rough. I mean, this was already going to be a tough game, but you talk about those two possibilities with those two guys banged up, as bad as they are, scary thoughts. It's an alarming injury report that came out today. It's something to really, really, really keep a close eye on, especially with Denver's D-line. And Nick Caley was asked how you get ready for that D-line. Here's what he had to say.
Be coordinated, be on the same page, stay inside out, strain like hell, and play within the timing of the offense.
There you go. I mean, that's simple, right? Goes back to the D'Amico Ryan simple thing. I'd be very worried about that if I were them. That's a tough situation that they find themselves in. So tomorrow we'll get more clarity. We'll be out at Spanky's, myself and Cody Stoots. We look forward to having you out there. How concerned are you? Am I crazy for picking Denver? I feel like I'd be crazy not to, quite frankly. Texans team has already burned me a lot. So this is going to be an interesting game. This is going to be a wild game. And the areas of concern, they only increase with matchups and developments on the injury report. But it doesn't matter because we're going to be at Spanky's tomorrow in Sharpstown. And when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Shout out to Sleeper. Download the app. Get that free $20. Use the promo code LOCKER to get $100 back, 100% up to $100. Appreciate y'all for rolling through.
Opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number one. You don't need to try your luck. Locker